name is Xiulin from China. I am totally against the use of GMO in agriculture and also against any kind of chemicals, pesticide, herbicide to be abused in agriculture because it has been too much.
Xiulin, how much GM soya is there currently grown inside of China?
As a matter of fact, the soy that has been growing in China is basically non-GMO. China is the home of soy. There are some illegal growing activities in China. It would take no more than maybe 10% of the soy grown in China. But we are importing a huge amount of soy from the US, from Brazil, from Argentina. That ends up to be last year 80 million tons, more than 80 million tons. And average Chinese people will get 80 kilograms per person. That is more than enough for anybody to use cooking oil, and that is more than enough to grow all the animals in China. So we are flooded with the GMO soy. But we did not grow it. And our natural non-GMO soy is very welcome on the international market. Therefore, we are on the left hand, we import great amount of GMO soy. On our left hand, we have been exporting quite some amount of non-GM soy for other people to enjoy.
And we've heard that there's so many health effects from glyphosate. All weekend we've seen the problems that it's caused in South America with children, deformities. I mean, how do you feel about having to eat that kind of food when you've already got your own indigenous crops available?
It is a big trick that played on China since the time China joined the WTO. And the worst is that for some reason that is not told, that our government did not set the upper limit for glyphosate residue on the imported soy. Therefore, we ended up getting the worst commodity from the world market. And some of my friends tested the actual level of the glyphosate. It could come up to be 13 milligrams per kilo. And for the average Chinese people who would have 80 kilo per person per year, it will be a huge amount of the glyphosate exposed to everybody. And we are now suffering from a great big problem of chronic disease. And the worst is infertility and early death of embryo in the moms. It could be as worse as 50% of the embryo died before they could be born.
And this is a shock to a country that's been able to sustain its population historically for for 5,000 years. And
exactly. It's so shameful for China to suffer from such a problem that we could have avoided it if we did not get on this wrong route. It started in 1979 when the first agreement of science and technology agreement, a cooperation between the US and China was signed. From that time on, science and technology development in China has been taken or been manipulated by the United States.
And yesterday at the People's Assembly here in The Hague, you told us that there had been some very shady deals with Syngenta coming into China with a cash deal. Can you explain a bit more about that, please?
I don't know too much of the details, but I heard of it only in early February this year. And from what had been reported, it's something like we will pay cash, and Syngenta as a whole company would not have to move anybody or any office. They need only to reorganize their production. They are doing that. They are expanding the poisonous chemical production in Brazil that is already reported. And they would try some ways or their own ways to spread the toxic chemicals to more Asian countries through China, because China agencies have been representing Syngenta commercial deals to Asian countries. And the country, China, seems to be very proud of it, but it is a shame.
Now, this flies in the face of an initiative to reduce the amount of pesticides in the Chinese in the countryside and in cities and in the food chain. How can that be?
I believe it is a contradiction within our government system. There are good people in the system who wanted to reduce or to lower the addiction to chemicals. They must have been worked a long time. On the other side, it is a strategic plan to get Syngenta into China. It's not our strategy. It is somebody else's strategy to use China as the tool to spread more chemicals to the so-called emerging markets, that is the developing countries, as if they did not have enough for the chemical, the toxins.
Now, there was another question, and it's just gone out of my mind. It was very important about something you were saying, because I can cut this to...
about GMO, about Syngenta,
yeah,
about the tradition.
Yeah, I'd like you to just tell us about any other GMOs that you, other than the imported soya. What else do you know about within?
Oh yes, this is what I wanted to ask you as well.
You know, what activity is actually going on? Are they seed banking? Are they growing crops to create seeds to sell to farmers?
And then the other thing is,
because they have to have seeds if they're going to, they have to grow these seed crops.
Can I just say? And the other thing is if people obviously want to eat healthy, they want to eat their own food. China and food is like it's a connection, isn't it? So if they want to protest about this, all of this imports coming in and the deals with Syngenta, it's hard for them to do that because there's some kind of media blackout. So how are you going to raise awareness about these problems if the mainstream media is not supporting your case, your cause?
Thanks to the internet, that we have another way to speak and to spread around what we think, what we do, what we found to the general public. It had been working quite effectively. So in my case, I am independent. I'm not in any of the NGOs, whatever. But I have been running my blog for 7 to 8 years, and most of what I wanted to say, I wrote and put on my blog, and have been carried very, very far away in China and outside China. And more and more people, they have been aware of the trouble. And yes, in China we have no way to protest or to do any demonstration, but people still have the ways to go back to the farm, because no less than 1/3 of our population is in some ways connected to land. Their parents or their grandparents were farmers, and if they make up their mind, they can find ways to go back or to relate themselves back to the land to produce their own food. And it has been starting, and it's been a fashion. I'm very glad to see that. Anyways, if anybody decided or find a way to do it, I will support.
So this leads us into Angela's question. This kind of resurgence of organic farming in China has kind of been going on this century. We're in the 21st century. But what if there is this problem of seeds and of pesticides and farmers being tricked into buying into these technology packages? What would be the Chinese response to that?
30 or 40 years ago, we did not have any big seed companies in China. Farmers raise their own crops, they develop their own seeds. Mm-hmm. They know what is the best to fit into their environment and their conditions. But unfortunately, we now have big companies that produce seeds, and the majority of farmers are using the commercial seeds. But on the other hand, because China is huge, and we have very high level of diversity, and we have many mountains, many valleys, many different natural conditions, and there are still old farmers. They are keeping their own seeds. As soon as people started to look for that, they found in some corners, in some fields, the seeds are still there. So even to my knowledge, I know some people who are doing a very good job to recover and to reuse these seeds. And they even are making, developing or raising or make better versions of those things. And for the land that has been really addicted to chemicals, to toxins, we need some years to let the toxin be diluted or be degraded, then the better crops can be grown. There is a very good experiment done by a real scientist who is an ecologist. He stopped any chemicals from fertilizer, herbicide, pesticide, hormone, plastic, and GMO. The 6 items, he would not touch any of them. He used pure manure from cows, and he recovered the soil, the fertility of it, and he did a great big job, and he's now very well known and be used as a model
in China.
In China, yeah.
That's
I know
great.
him. He's my friend.
Well, this is good because we could maybe put him in touch with the University of Coventry, who has their organic department.
I'll tell him.
I'll tell them about.
He's also a good. He can speak English, no problem.
Yeah, oh, that sounds incredible. Yeah. So maybe we could come and film him, and we could visit on site, or the university could, or because that's how these case studies. If he can do it, then everybody can do it. Yeah. And these stories are very important. And I love the way you say that they found the seeds in the corner of the field and just started to uncover their truth.
Some of them.
Yeah, it's all there. The wells.
Brilliant.
They are still there.
Yeah.
But they are disappearing. But at this moment, they are still there.
They're still there.
There's still hope.
So who controls the seed distribution within China? How are the seeds, the commercial seeds, distributed? Are there agencies? Are there, and we've seen in other parts of the world, these agents come along with their vans and their suits, and they force the farmers to grow the GM crop. It's forced upon them. There's nothing else to buy but this. You have to have this. You have to grow this. Is that tactic being rolled out inside China, do you think?
Yes, exactly. The seeds are only given free to farmers. And farmers, some of them, without second or better thinking, would take it because they still believe in the agencies. The agencies used to have good credits and had done something good, but now they are representing the seed companies, especially those come from outside. All these used to be for transnational biotechnology companies, Monsanto, Syngenta, Bayer, whatever. And they all have offices and their branches in China. And they all joined our local seed companies to be partners to develop so-called high-tech seeds. And they have their biggest market share. But still, as I said, that some farmers, old farmers, are still doing their own farming. To my knowledge, there's no way at this moment to break the monopolized power over our farming. The way we can think to do is to break this encycling, to go to the farmers, to educate them, to connect them with urban consumers directly, and to do their own job, to avoid the companies, to avoid the so-called market, and to save as many as possible people from this toxic war.
So do you have farmers markets in China?
We do.
Face to face?
Yes.
It's a great thing.
Not enough. We have some, and some farmers started to get together to claim that they are using less or none of chemicals. Some are real, some are not really doing that, but they are coming to get together to make fairs, to do fairs in the cities, and I myself buy my food from these fairs rather than from supermarkets.
Yeah. So that initiative to lower pesticides by 2020, do you know the exact figures for that? What it is?
It is only a kind of principle, to my point. They don't have concrete ways or methods to get to it. But it's kind of a direction, a correct direction for the MOA to consider or to find some ways to do it.
But do you think they believe the lie from the GMO companies that if you grow GM crops, you're actually using less pesticide? Are they believing that lie?
They do.
So they think maybe GM can help them with this goal
yes,
of
the
not
propaganda,
increasing.
The propaganda is so
the
strong.
propaganda is
so strong
believed.
that
Yeah.
6-7 years ago, when we started to talk about GMO trouble, I got a lot of attack from online to accuse me that I'm against a good new technology. Until a few years after, say 3-4 years after, the statistics from all over the world
Yeah.
shows that the herbicide use was skyrocketing, and
Yeah.
everything else is not as what they said.
Yeah.
And as more people are aware of this, the government start to say less than that, to talk less than that. Then I think the 2020 zero grow was based on this, and the pollution was so bad, and so many places where the groundwater is no good anymore.
Yeah.
And the government had to do something. If not this administration, the next one had to do something. Otherwise, there is no way to carry on.
They couldn't stand up and be
But they
allowed.
try to put this job to the next administration rather than taking it
for
by
themselves. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where you come in, a bit of citizens' power to say, you know, someone's got to take this seriously.
Do you think the ban in Sri Lanka will have be given news in China?
Oh, we know that.
Yeah.
We know that news. We also, like me, we try to broadcast it on our own blog, but it did not get any response from the scientific community, nor from the government officials that are related to the job.
Do you think they'll listen more to British research showing carcinogenic activity in glyphosate?
They would listen to nothing that is not in favor of GMO or against Monsanto, because Monsanto has done the scholarship program to every single agricultural university in China. We have, at least for every province, we have one or two or a couple of agricultural universities or colleges. Monsanto, I think they did not let anyone go alone.
They didn't miss anyone
Yeah, they
out.
didn't miss anybody, just put the program to everywhere. So
They're
the
training.
students
They're training the young.
yes, the students they helped would be grateful to this company for at least half of their lives to go with the technology. And they are all very narrow-sighted. They know only the little area they are working in. They don't mind looking around to how it ended up.
The holistic picture, the whole picture.
They don't.
They don't look at that, the effect on the environment, on animals, on trees.
Yeah, they would like to believe that it's not a problem. It will be solved in a later time when science advances further. That's what they believe.
It's everyone saying next generation deal with this, next
But
administration.
the thing about Sri Lanka is that they have been growing GM for a very long time. They've had 30 years of it out there, so they've actually had the time to produce those deaths from kidney failure. You know, it doesn't happen overnight, poisoning from agrochemicals. It's a slow build-up inside of the body, gradually destroying the organs. So you do need 20 years to see the devastation inside the human population, let alone what it's done to the environment.
You know, the irresponsible scientists and the government agencies try not to do any testing, any real investigation to avoid discovering the real problem. I did read online, it's open news, that certain hospital talked about the kidney problem with newborn.
Okay, so it has been raised once about the effects of newborns to newborns.
Kidney syndrome it belongs to old generation, old people, not for young people. And over years they built toxic in their body and the kidney fails. But for newborn, it never should be anything like that.
No.
But there have been reports and with statistics, but still it is ignored. And what can we do? Then I was angry, but I told myself I cannot be angry all the time.
Oh, yeah. And so what's your background then? Yeah, we have to have some fun. What's your background?
I was trained in agriculture economics. I got my PhD in Hawaii, University of Hawaii. I met one person that is from Hawaii, Dr. Pang, but I didn't have time to talk to him. He said that it is not the time as when you were there. And there are GMOs. A lot of GMOs now in Hawaii.
Papaya, particularly.
Papaya is the number one. I don't know. We didn't have time to talk about what else are there. Hawaii people are strongly against growing GMO papaya, but still they even passed state laws to ban it. But still, the capital, they can penetrate everywhere. They can seep into.
Into any institution, into any government.
I think
they're
they
probably
have the same.
Any farm.
They have the same raison d'être, really, wherever they go. They operate in the same way.
Infiltrators, but.